Well,
Yeah. So is Lumo just a shorter version of Luscious Mother?
well, yeah, actually. So when we were going to launch this business, it was Luscious Mother can't get through firewalls of our companies.
Yeah.
So, it's
So when you're reaching out to people, that name doesn't resonate.
It doesn't work. It just literally doesn't work. So it's homage to the original.
Yeah.
Luscious Mother. It's just shortened.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So that's So first of all, this is Sarah Olin, friend of mine. We've known each other since 2019, no,
Sure.
17 when I first met you. And you were kind of critical, we'll get there in a second, of me starting Loan Pronto. You're the coach I talked to when I was starting it. But I want to start off by saying thanks for coming in today, and then tell me a little bit about Lumo. And I guess once you do that, my question is, are life coaches worth the hype?
Ha! Well, you would be able to answer that as well as anybody. And it's funny. So you had a few questions. So I started coaching when my daughter was an infant, and the coaching program that I did was it was called the Life and Leadership program, and it was really rigorous and really intense and really expensive. It was a year-long program in New York City. And I loved it so much that I became a trainer and a facilitator, and I was really into it deep. When I go in, I go all the way.
All the way.
Go all the way, baby. It's just not, that's not me. I mean, when I was teaching mindfulness and meditation in New York City, I was meditating hours and hours. It was, it's a lifestyle, right? So coaching was the same. And is it worth it? I mean, it's totally changed my life. So I became a coach when I became a mom functionally. And I know that for so many women, becoming a mother is such a game-changing thing, and not always in the best of ways, right? It can be really confronting. It's really hard. And for me, I learned how to get my needs met and how to be in the driver's seat of my own experience. And I think so many women don't have that. So yes, is it worth it? I mean, we have at Lumo a 91% client retention rate. Yeah. So our clients think so.
Are your clients corporate level? What's a mix of people that you work with on a weekly basis? What's it look like?
Well, I just did a training for corporate leaders at J. Crew. 30 minutes ago, we wrapped. Yeah, that's a client. Yeah. So we were talking about Bobby. Yeah. We work with startups. Established brands. Calvin Klein is a client of ours. Financial services firms. It really runs the gamut. Lawyers. I mean, across professional services for sure. Companies that you've heard of.
Is it women focused still, or is it now across all?
It's everyone. Yeah. We do three things at Lumo. We do coaching and leadership training, and that's. We have a focus. Our specialty is around supporting working parents and expecting parents, but we do Dare to Lead, Brené Brown's leadership training. So that's for all people, right? It's not gender. It's not rank and file. It's not sort of your position. It's like, who do you want to develop as a leader? What talent do you care about? So we've got coaching and leadership training, which everyone knows what it is at this point. Organizations have budgets for it. It is not a new idea. This is something that has been happening for a long time. On the other side, we have the Parental Leave Advantage program, and this is our scalable solution, our online program, where it's for managers and employees before, during, and after leave, because it's such a challenging time, right? And it impacts so many people.
So it's funny, I was going to get there, but we're here already. So when I started Loan Pronto, we had no parental leave for women or men.
Of course.
And the mortgage industry was historically, and I think to this day, offers really nothing, especially for commission-based employees.
It's so challenging.
And it really is. And then we really struggled with it with some of our employees, and I think we got it wrong a couple times. Sure. But we revamped it. I think we got in a better place. but sometimes the damage is done kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I wonder how, in hindsight, well, I could have done that better. But how if you're a corporation and you rely on productivity from your employees, especially salespeople, how do you do it? It's like
Yeah.
how do you get it right? Because then you have men as well. So if you give something to a woman, although I think the woman's journey is significantly different than a man's. Somebody might tell me different, but I have 3 kids, so that's what I've seen. But I just wonder how you advise people to get this right as you're telling them, like, hey, women need time off. They need to get paid. There's a couple aspects of it, but what advice do you give, I guess, is the long question
Yeah.
to a really short question.
Well, there's really two things to consider. One is policy and the second is culture.
Yeah.
And actually, what I imagine about Loan Pronto, knowing you, is that the culture is really great and people feel loved and supported. And maybe around leave, the policies weren't great because they didn't exist, because they don't for small businesses until they need to be.
Yep.
One of our clients at Lumo, she is one of the founders of Bobby, but she was employee number whatever at Airbnb. She was the first person to get pregnant, so she created the parental leave policy, right? So it doesn't exist anywhere until there's a need, right? Especially big companies, they've got all the structures in the world. They might have the policy, but the culture is terrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I bet you have the culture, but the policy was a little iffy. And I think
It stunk. It really did.
Yeah.
I think it's good now. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's better than 99% of mortgage businesses. But, it's just interesting because how do you get that right from day one, right? Like when you're writing I didn't have any kids then. I had 1 kid. But I didn't, how do you figure that out up front? But it's tough. It was a tough journey for us for sure.
it is tough. And I really feel there's a whole thing going on right now in the zeitgeist with a woman who owns this organic baby clothing company called Kite Baby. And she had an employee who was adopting, and the baby was in the NICU and born at 22 weeks. And she asked if she could work remotely, and the company denied her. And Roger, this thing is huge. It explodes. I mean, CNN, it's everywhere. And because my industry is adjacent, it's everywhere. And I actually have so much compassion for the CEO because she's being dragged through the mud. It's like she made a mistake.
Yeah.
And she's trying to walk it back, and she's trying to do the right thing, and she is getting crucified. And I hate that we do that to people. I don't think that's right. I don't think that helps people grow. I don't think humiliation is a great tactic. I think what you're talking about is, hey, we didn't get it right. We learn from it. We get support, and we do better. And it's very Goldilocks.
Yeah. Do you think people are walking it back after COVID? Like, I think during COVID, we eased up on stuff, but like work from home is obviously, everybody knows I don't like work from home, but I think but do you think companies are kind of rolling a lot of these perks back, including some of the stuff they did with maternity, or you think they're keeping maternity separate from it and rolling everything else back? Like how that's policy changing for companies that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think it's for big companies, the bigger you are, the harder it is to roll it back, to walk it back. I mean, people are just, because it actually, your benefits and things like that become part of the hiring process. And, you're younger, you're millennial, right? Technically?
Yeah.
Elder millennial?
I'm at the very edge. I'm 81.
Yeah. You're at the edge.
I'm the oldest millennial you could possibly be.
Yes, exactly. But you lean more Gen X than millennial.
Yeah, because I work with a bunch of Gen Xers.
Exactly.
That's not a choice.
So it's, but our millennial talent, they're just, the data is there. They will go where the culture is, they will go where the benefits are. So you have to take care of people. And I think I really believe that companies want to do right by people, and people want to do right by their companies, but they're not always.
It's a tough needle to thread.
Yeah.
For sure. Company leadership and making these decisions. I think it brings me to a big question I have is, when you work with all these companies, you're working with a lot of CEO and upper level C-suite people. What are the most common traits you're seeing in very high performance teams right now?
Ooh, the training I just did was on high performing teams. Well, first we have to define that. What does that mean to be a high performing team?
think it means that you bring the best out in the majority of your employees.
Yeah.
I think something like that.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think there's
The sums more than the parts kind of concept.
Yeah, I believe that for high performing teams, there's got to be two things. One is that people care about each other. People handle their scandal, they show up and they're great. And to your point, they bring out the best in other people. That's one. And then the other is that we're producing results.
Yeah, that's true.
But if we have the first one, if people care about each other, we say that at Lumo, relationship is the foundation of results. So if we have relationship, we're going to produce results.
Is it the same, is the exact converse for poorly producing teams? Is it always from the leader down that you see? It is. I always think I always tell people that I think that everything that goes wrong at Loan Pronto is my fault. I really do. I say the same thing with my kids. Like, I think everything my kids do wrong, I think it's absolutely my fault.
Wow.
I do. I think it's like, I don't know. I just think like I'm the captain of the ship here. So if something goes wrong, I just always believe it's my fault. And I either didn't train somebody well enough, I didn't give them the right guidance, I picked the wrong path, I hired the wrong person.
Yeah.
I just always think it's my fault. But I don't think a lot of people do that. I think most actually don't.
Yeah.
But I think, what's your thoughts are?
I agree 100%, although I would put it in a slightly different context. It's one of the tenets and fundamentals of the training that we do. It's 100% ownership in where you're looking. And it's outside of fault and blame though. I can own how Lumo is doing 100%, whether it's, so for example, our CFO last year made a big mistake. Technically, she's not under my purview. Sales and marketing and that sort of thing, developing content, delivering programming, that's my purview. And it's on the other side of the house with my business partner. But I can still own it if I'm willing. And I am to say, just like you said, I didn't train her. I wasn't clear about my expectations. And there's things for her to own. I believe that when everyone holds that attitude of when something goes wrong, and maybe more importantly, when something goes right, how can we all own it?
Yeah.
Right? If every single person sitting out there, when something went wrong, said, how can I own this? It's game changing.
Yeah. I heard Elon Musk say the other day, owning a business isn't really that fun because you spend like an amazing amount of time working on the shit.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of part of that too. It's like, it's not maybe as enjoyable as most people think. And I actually love owning a business. And I think you've been self-employed now for what, 10, 15 years?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Long time.
So, and I think that resonated a lot to me because you do spend a lot of time working on the shit. I think what I always try to figure out is, how do you enjoy the good times, Because the bad times, you're trying to build the good times. The good times, you're trying to avoid the next bad time. And you're always working on this shit. And I think that I've always struggled with that. And I'm just not a very complacent person. I'm not content either. But what advice would you give me?
I would.
This is me getting free coaching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn this whole thing around. Let's just make it a coaching session.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun. Coach Roger live. I think you've got to put structure in around it, or else it won't happen.
Yeah.
We have weekly team meetings, and in every meeting, we throw up a few slides. One is our values. So we are constantly in that conversation, and everyone in the company knows what are our values, what's our mission and vision, and what are we here for? Because we do get mired down in the shit all the time, right? Fire, this, that client, right?
All the time. Yeah.
All the time. So we start with wins. We look at our mission, vision, values, and then we have our KPIs, and it's really simple. It's on track or off track, on track or off track, and then it gets dropped down to, okay, so how do we get it on track if it's off track?
Yeah, that's good to know. So thanks for the coaching.
Yeah. But you need structure, Roger, on celebration because it's so sneaky. It's really sneaky because it's like, well, we hit that goal, but we still have so much further to go.
Oh, for me, like we would set a goal to hit 100 million. And I would like celebrate for 8 seconds. I'd be like, we get it to 110. And so like I don't know. I struggle. I don't think it's always necessarily a bad thing. to always be looking forward, but
It's not
sometimes you gotta enjoy the moment. And
No, it's just a place for you to expand.
Yeah.
Because if you celebrate more, they're going to celebrate more. And if they celebrate more, they're going to be having a better time. If they're having a better time, they're going to do better work.
Yeah.
They're going to attract more business, and you're going to be in a better,
Yeah, I know.
it all goes together.
Enjoy yourself. Yeah. Enjoy the moment, maybe. So you're part of, earlier before we started talking live here, not live, but on this, I mentioned that you're kind of part of the origin story of Loan Pronto, and you may remember it, you may not.
I remember.
Yeah, I owned 2 other businesses, and I was really wanting to get back into the mortgage business full time.
Yep.
And I was in a spot where I didn't like to go to work on Monday morning, and like I actually really love working. I just truly enjoy it. And I met with you, found you through Agenda.
That's right. The
Access.
artist formerly known as the Agenda.
Showing most only works with women. I was like, maybe we should work with a guy, right? And I reached out to you. We met at Sunflower over on Elizabeth, and I mentioned to you what I wanted to do, and you said, "Well, when are you going to quit, Roger?" And I said, "Like a month." And you said, "Well, if you had like a really bad cavity, would you let it sit there for a month?" I was like, "No." And you said, "Well, you're going to quit tomorrow." And I quit tomorrow. I quit the next day, which is August 15th, and I incorporated this company the day later, which was awesome. I've told that story a million times because it's an origin story of the company, because I probably would have waited longer and I would have missed a lot of things. So I think where I'm going here is, making those types. How do you advise somebody in a simplistic way to make the biggest decision of their lives quickly? How because you did it for me. I did it. It worked. I don't think most people would have, though. I'm just curious, like, how do you give that advice in the right way?
Yeah. Well, I try never to give advice. I was trained strongly, don't give advice. We're not there to give advice. What we really do in a perfect world, and sometimes I do give advice because it gets, it's just, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
But what we're really trying to do is hold up the mirror and reflect back to you because there's what you want, and then there's what's in the way, real and imagined. So we help move that out of the way and just hold up the mirror, and it's like, you knew what you wanted.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need permission.
Yeah.
To do it. They're scared, or they think it's not possible, or they forget, or they've got other voices in their head that are louder, like my dad wanted me to do this, or every one of my family is a lawyer and I don't want to be a lawyer, I want to be a ballerina.
Just
right?
Accountability. Like if I didn't do it, I had to see you next week and be like, well, why didn't you do it?
Exactly.
I'm like, I didn't mind the fucking cavity.
I got a hangman.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. That was I've told that story like maybe 100 times. Maybe more, but I think it was it's cool. I always thought I always appreciated that. So you got some questions? I'll open up to you a little so you can ask some questions.
Yeah.
I want to do that. Sure.
Yeah. So what's most exciting to you right now in the business?
That's a good question. So the mortgage industry, we've just come off arguably the worst year in a generation.
Yes.
And it was challenging, but I think we grew a lot from it. I think we're a better honed team. We didn't have any layoffs, and I think we came out of the other side, which I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're pretty damn close. And I feel like our team is just like we're like an army ready for a war. We're just ready for that war to come.
Yeah.
And I think we're just really excited for that time to come. Our marketing is doing really well. We have a great staff in place. We have all great salespeople from top to bottom. We have almost perfectly staffed, and so the wave will come. And I think when that wave comes, I think we're very uniquely positioned to do better than almost everybody else. So, you can't make the wave come. You can do everything you can. I think, you can bump your chest and, scream to the moon. But at the end of the day, like, you have to have a better market, right? You can't, that's it. I mean, you can only do so much with rates and 7 and 8s, right? And I don't care what you say. I mean, short of just hiring a ton of people to bring in more loans, that wasn't really our value. So I'm really excited for that time. I think we're pretty close.
Yeah.
I think we're really close. And I'm proud that we got there because we didn't have any layoffs. I told you that earlier today.
Huge.
It costed us a lot financially, but it would have costed us more culturally to do that. And culture is expensive. It's not cheap.
It's so expensive.
Once you lose it, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that back. And if your values were to keep everybody, but you fired everybody, what are you saying, right? Like, what'd you tell your team?
Yeah. Well, tell me the values that Loan Pronto has that you see most reflected in the team.
Entrepreneurial, so people looking at other ways to do things, because really in a business like this, if you're in the sales piece or loan originator, you run your own business.
Yeah.
Right. And we provide our client, our LOs with a lot of resources, a lot of leads, but you can do more, right?
Yeah.
There's what we offer you and what you can bring in. So that ability to be entrepreneurial, resourcefulness, I don't think if there's a better trait in an employee that I can think of than resourcefulness. Like, I will hire somebody with no experience in mortgages if I think they're super resourceful.
Yeah.
Like, I give you a job and I come back a day later and it's like, it's done. Cool. How'd you do it? Well, I just did it. That's important for us, and the will to win.
Yeah.
That's really, really important. I think that's it. And then having fun. Like, I think what we did well over the last couple of years is laughed. Had a good time. Joked about the shitty days. Some people left here probably crying a couple of times, but you got to get back on and you come back in. And
were you one of those people who were crying? No. On the inside.
Last year was exhausting.
Yeah.
I always knew that our business plan was sound and good. And I knew we were prepared for this better than most, but it was exhausting.
Yeah.
That's how I described last year.
Yeah.
But it's like all bad things in hindsight. I'll eventually one day be very nostalgic about it, but in the moment I'm like, get me out of here.
Yeah. Sure. It's a great story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, one day I'm like, man, we made it through 2023 and we crushed it thereafter. But in the moment, it's not as fun as you want it to be.
Yeah. Who supports you, Roger, when you're really going through it?
Me. I mean, I don't have a coach anymore, and I don't really kind of internalize it probably.
Yeah. No.
With my employees.
Yeah.
Well, I lean on my employees for sure. Like external, I definitely have, key employees here that we talk a lot, but, I don't have like an external person that I really go to. I kind of just, figured out myself, I think, is how to describe that.
Yeah. And I wasn't thinking necessarily external. I was thinking, more internal.
Internally, I think we've all spent a lot of time just talking through things, meeting, bouncing ideas off each other, bitching to each other, complaining, cheering, laughing. I mean, we all, I think maybe where you're going here is, I would say our team is closer, today. Like, we've definitely all been through it together. And I said to the team at our Christmas party, I said, I think we all made a pact to stick with each other. And some of us could have left.
Yeah.
And maybe you should have, or maybe you could have, but I think at some point in time we were all like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to stay here together. And I think that was, we were kind of galvanized in that. And I think that's kind of what we did.
Yeah. How would you describe the culture?
I'd say fun, hardworking. I think we all are, I think we're kind of like a rowboat. Everybody's going in the same direction, and everybody has nobody's really individualistic. It's very much more, we want to be, top 5 broker in the United States.
Yep.
Right. And if we all individually do extremely well, we'll get there. But I don't think any one person is like obsessed with being the top person here. I think we all are respectful of each other, and most everybody here came from outside the industry. So there's a lot of just collaboration that exists, that there's the love to help somebody that's new. Like, I have an employee who started yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And I talked to her, she's like, I've never been in a place where everybody's just so nice from day one. Like, I was like, well, that's because everybody was in your spot at one point in time. They understand what you're going through. Like, you don't know what mortgages are. You might not know there's a G at the end, right? But I think there's just like collaboration and love for one another. And we're not perfect, trust me. No corporation is, but I think that probably in a long couple sentences describes it.
Yeah, it's funny because you were talking earlier about like when you see a bad team, is it the leader? Is it always top down? I think too, with the culture, you were describing the culture, but you could have been describing yourself too.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Have fun.
Yeah. And I think fun is a value of mine. And I think it's so important. Why wouldn't you?
Because so many people just go to work to do a job.
Yeah.
And they don't have a common goal, and they just see the person at the top getting wealthy or rich, and or not sharing, or whatever it may be. I think that happens so much. Like, are we empowering our employees? And I think if you're doing those things, you can have fun, right?
Yeah.
Or you celebrate the good times, or you do things as a team, but you gotta laugh.
Yeah.
And you gotta make fun of each other sometimes. You gotta laugh. You gotta bust some balls, and you gotta enjoy yourself. And I just don't think companies do that very well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know, but it's the people inside, right?
Yeah.
Because the organization is just people.
It's just a bunch of people.
It's just a bunch of people.
I got a lightning round for you real quick.
Oh, go. God, I have so many for you.
Social media, net good or net bad for society?
For society.
Is it good or bad that we have social media? I think it's bad.
I think it's like a donut. A little is great, a lot is not.
Yeah. The entrepreneur that you most admire?
It's got to be Laura Modi
Is she?
and Sarah Hardy. They're the founders of Bobby.
Okay.
They're so dynamic and smart and really walking the talk.
I think most great companies have two good founders.
Yeah.
I think that's probably some signs behind that. What's the riskiest business decision you or somebody you know of has made that paid off?
Oh gosh, riskiest business decision.
Took a big swing, a gamble, something like that. Worked. We'll come back to that one.
Come back.
Favorite saying that you think of the most and that resonates with you the most?
Favorite saying, like a quote.
Saying, whatever it may be.
God, I have so many things that I say, but I think the one
Handle
your scandal, or high on your own supply in a great way. I think I'm high on my own supply, and it's working. It's working.
Yeah. What was the one thing you would tell your 25-year-old self today if you could? One.
Go bigger.
Yeah.
Think bigger.
I like that one. I always ask this question, everybody. I love this question. What do you think the single most important trait you see in entrepreneurs that excel is? The single most important thing they have that helps them excel and leave the pack behind.
Passion.
Yeah.
Followed by optimism, followed by love.
Optimism. I always say, what is it? Pessimists look smart, optimists get rich.
Oh, I love it. I never heard that.
Yeah.
My number one strength on Strengths Finders is positivity.
Yeah.
And there are very negative and positive consequences to that, right?
Yeah.
But I always think it's going to work.
Be.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean.
For sure. You're probably a very positive person.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot more questions. Anything you want to go through?
I have so many questions for you. I think, okay, just one more.
That's it too.
Okay, two. All right. One, how has your commitment to your well-being informed your success?
Like health-wise?
Yeah.
A lot. So I try to work out every single day.
Yeah.
I try to stay healthy. I try to eat really healthy. A couple things happen. One is I go every day at lunch to work out, so it gives me a break, right?
Yeah.
That mental break that you need. And also, if you're just in good shape and good
Do you
health.
shower after you work out? Yeah. Wow.
It's one of my, it's a CrossFit gym. So if I didn't, I would.
It's so gross.
Be disgusting.
Yeah.
But I try to stay in shape mentally and physically, and I think it gets me away from work for a little while during the day, gets my mind off the stress sometimes, and it keeps you eating healthy. You can't work out and go to eat shit, right? I mean, it's kind of like mentally, it's really hard. You could, but it's every once in a while you can treat yourself, but I think that works out well for me, for sure.
Yeah. Last question. Tell me about the causes that you're passionate about. Because I know you give back a lot here.
Yeah, so we do. We should do more. But we give back to Best Buddies in Charlotte, which is my really good friend who does my radio advertising, David Medlock. His wife Tammy runs Best Buddies in Charlotte, and it helps people with I don't know what the right word here is, but mentally challenged disorders like Down syndrome, autism, severity, ADHD, things of that. It helps them out, including them into society, because I think a lot of times parents feel like their kids need like knock out society. They can't work. They can't go to college. So we love it because we know exactly where money goes. It's linear, it goes to here and it goes there, and I can see it happening. And I think that's really great. I know Tammy really well. I know her, they have a son with Down syndrome, and they've just done a phenomenal job. Like I just didn't realize how much you could do for those people. So that's a big cause for us. I really love entrepreneurship. Like if it's up to me, like if I could give back right now, like I love talking to people about starting businesses. Like I don't have a format where I can do it. I have a lot of people reach out to me through LinkedIn and through the mortgage community because I've started a few businesses. But in my like passionate dreams, like I would love to on the side like give back to entrepreneurs. I just don't really know the medium to do it. But that's
I've got somebody to introduce you to.
Yeah, but I really love doing that because it's hard. It's hard to do marketing and finance and the books and QuickBooks.
It's
and
everything.
Hiring, firing. There's a million things you have to do to run a business successfully, and not everybody can do all of them. And some people don't know where to start. How do I build a website? You go here. How do I get a bank account? How do I incorporate? That's something I love doing. I just don't have an avenue to do it. But if I could, I would.
Roger, there's so many.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Because they won't talk.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte business, there's so many ways that you could be a resource, truly. Yeah, and that you have that desire.
I love doing it. I love talking to people about that kind of stuff.
I love it.
Last question. Where can we find you online?
Oh, lumoleadership.com.
Yeah.
That's our website. I'm on LinkedIn, Sarah Bernier Olin.
What about Insta?
LinkedIn and the website.
You do a lot on Instagram?
Not really.
Really?
I know. I love it, but I stopped for 1.5 years or so. And then now I'm more of a voyeur, but my company does.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. You're a lamb chop.